Hi, cool girls. Welcome to a new episode of Cool Girls Create. This is the podcast and go-to source for women entrepreneurs and creators. Here we have self-reflecting conversations and we talk about everything from art to tech to your personal journey. So I'm excited today, y'all, because this is someone who I've literally had to call 911, like, please help me out. I need some advice here. So, welcome, Danielle McGee Gibson.
Yes, there you go. I'm still trying to remember myself that I have a new last name. So
Yes, I
thank
know
you
how it
so much
is.
for having me.
Of course, of course. All right. So, before we get started and going into your background, and just deeper into the conversation, I want to do an icebreaker, right? So, this is the question for you. If you could have a conversation with any woman, past or present, over a cup of coffee or tea, who would it be and why?
It's a really good question. I would say the first person that immediately came to mind was Oprah. And I don't know why, but she was the first person that came to mind. I think growing up in Chicago and her show being based in Chicago, she had is such an impact on us Chicagoans growing up. And then also to come here to Tennessee, to Nashville, and know that she's a TSU alum and gives back a lot here. I am really inspired by her philanthropy, but I'm also really inspired by her living the life that she wants without caring much about how others feel. And like even with her relationship with Stedman, right? It's unconventional, but she doesn't care. It's what works for them. So even them as a couple, I admire their ability to just live how they want to live without being worried about what's traditional and what society says that they should do. But mostly it's because of her philanthropy, and her heart for giving back to others while also having this empire and being a very successful businesswoman.
Right. That's a good point. People would say Oprah, but the reason why you're saying it is very intriguing to me because I find there's always this balance with being an ambitious woman and a traditional woman who wants to, start a family, be in a relationship, and snuggle up with their man or woman, you know?
Right. It's the balance is really hard. And I feel like she's done a good job of being able to balance. Of course, I don't know this lady, but from the outside looking in, it seems like she's done a really good job of being able to balance. Another reason why she came to mind immediately is because I was just talking about her back in 2007. Her and Gail and several other women went on a retreat to Miraval in Arizona to this spa wellness retreat. And ever since then, I've been wanting to make a trip there, like just because it looks amazing from a self care and wellness perspective. And I was just telling my grandmother that I've been wanting to do this since 2007, and I finally am in a position that I can, and it's been such a journey to get there because when I looked up the prices and was like $600 a night, like ain't no way, like, and so it took all this time. I was 21, 22 at the time when I saw them go on this journey on the show, and it's taken me almost to 40 to be in a position where I could actually do the same type of things that Oprah is able to do. Of course, I'm not doing them on her level, but to just be able to go is an achievement for me.
Right. And I agree. So this is a perfect segue into introducing um your background to our audience a little bit more. So um Danielle is a Chicago native. She mentioned that before. And so, whoop whoop, Chicago.
I
Um,
always fit it in at some point. So
you know, you We on the same page. And she is also a social entrepreneur who has built not one, not two, not three, but four brands that all really support and provide resources for Black-owned businesses. And she is an HBCU professor, y'all. So I want to dive into a few things here, but let's talk about your journey with Black Business Boom. And I want to start here. To me, just doing research, it seemed as if you took a career turn or transition or had a second life when it comes to, where you started in your career and where you are now. So just talk to us about that journey.
So I launched Black Business Boom October 2018. So we just celebrated 5 years in business. We were the Groupon for Black-owned businesses at the time. I was still working in healthcare. I was a senior manager at that time, managing a team of 10, going in the office every day and trying to also build this platform for Black-owned businesses. And it was quite a struggle. And I actually, in my professional career, took a pay cut to take a different job where I could work remotely and work and focus on building my business. So, I mean, I took, probably like a 15% pay cut just to have the freedom I felt like I needed to run to grow this business because I had so much faith in what I was doing. Um, did other things like moved from one apartment upstairs to downstairs just to be able to save on rent, to be able to invest in my business. And it was just me doing everything. I built the website and I was talking to all the business owners, finding out what their coupon was. I was running around meeting with business owners in person. It was a mess. But what I really learned through that first year of Black Business Boom was that there were so many other gaps that existed for Black owned businesses. So while I thought I'm going to create this Groupon like platform, because when I had my first business in Chicago, it helped us to get people through the door, right? So we used Groupon to get a lot of traffic through our door. So I figured I would create the same thing for Black owned businesses, not realizing that we needed so much more than just a platform. We needed capital, we needed education, we need all these things. And honestly, I mean, we've pivoted so many times to try to meet the needs of Black owned businesses. We went from the Groupon model to a different coupon model, launching our app, then realizing, we were struggling with sales to get really good Black owned businesses on the platform. So then we said, well, how can we help them? We built a marketing agency. We started doing marketing work for folks, building websites, email campaigns, social media strategies. And then we realized, that's not really meeting the people where they are, because what we have to charge for that work, a lot of Black owned businesses don't have the capital to invest. So that's when Bowman University was born. And we said, well, we will just start to teach folks these things. And so in 2020, we things kind of took off with Bowman University, but at the same time, on the agency side, we started doing work for the state of Tennessee, which really helped to get us through the pandemic. And I'll tell you, one night, and I was very unhappy with this new job that I had, but I was still doing both. It was 2 years of me working the business and working, the job. And we started to get more coverage and all kind of stuff that led the job to kind of really start to scrutinize a lot of my work. They were seeing me on the news, all kind of stuff. So then they're coming to me like, maybe you need to talk to HR. Well, it was a mess. So it became really uncomfortable. And, one day I just decided I'm putting in my 2-week notice. I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to take the leap of faith. And I know I can go and make money, and I also knew I can always get another job. Like I will never, not be able to get a job. I worked in healthcare. I've had a great career. If I decide to go back to work, I always can. And I had done it before. When 12 years ago, I quit my job and went full time with entrepreneurship and had to go back to work, and that's how I went back and went into healthcare and built my career. So, I'd already been down the road of being embarrassed about going back to work, and all that. So I'm like, it is what it is. If I got to do it again, I got to do it again. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to be embarrassed this time. It's just you do what you got to do. And so 2020 quit the job, and it's just been like full force ever since, every day waking up, finding ways to support Black owned businesses and just live free for the most part, having the freedom that I've always desired. So that kind of brings us to where we are today.
That was that was said so eloquently. So it was a few things that stuck out to me. The number one thing is building your business while you also had your career or job, and then not being afraid to go back if you have to. And I can definitely relate to that mindset, because that's the sentiment that I had coming from, commercial banking and having an accounting degree. Child, it's always gonna be there. So I like to really emphasize that point, because I think a lot of people hinder themselves from fully going for their dreams or things that they're passionate about, because they have a fear of not having security or being embarrassed about uh failing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing air quotes because
It's not
uh
a
right, it's not a failure. And if y'all been listening to this podcast, y'all know how I feel about failing forward and everything being a learning process. And
mm-hmm.
so I do want to discuss another key thing that you brought up with challenges when it comes to Black owned businesses. But I want to go a little bit further into the challenges that Black women entrepreneurs have in general. What's your experience with that? What do you think the top challenges are that we face or that you've had to face and overcome?
Yeah, I mean the capital gap is even larger for Black women, especially when you start to talk about venture capital, accessing angel investing, those type of things. I think many times we are we have an issue with balance as well. So it is a balance and act of working the job, growing the business, taking care of family, taking care of the household. There's just a lot on us. We feel like we need to be super women. And many times when we don't play up to that role, we are scrutinized, right? So, it's like, how am I supposed to wake up every day, make sure the house is together, I go to work or work from home, whatever it because even working from home is work, right? And it's mentally exhausting, even if you physically are not not tired. You got to make sure all the things are done around the house. You got to drink your water. You got to try to stay in shape, right? Like you got to keep your hair done. You got to go get
Gotta
your
look
nails
good
done.
now.
Got to get exactly like it's all this pressure to be all these things, and it can be depressing. Like it can literally cause anxiety and depression just trying to be everything for yourself and for everybody else. And then dealing with corporate America at the same time is a whole nother thing, because you going to work and they touching your hair and the microaggressions, and you getting overlooked for promotions. So there's so many things that we deal with as Black women, while also trying to build this business, and not having the funding that we need, not having the support system that we need, because the people around us just don't really understand what we're trying to accomplish and the things that we have to do to get there. So it's very exhausting. I think another thing that we do to ourselves, we many times we lack confidence in what we're building, and our prices indicate that. So our prices reflect the lack of confidence that we have in our business. So we undercharge, we're undervalued, and then we end up undervaluing ourselves because we just want the business. We just want somebody to buy from us. So if I make it cheap enough, then they'll buy from us, but then we're not profitable. This is just a passion project, right? This ain't a business. When the average Black woman-owned business is making $24,000 in revenue a year, that's a hobby, really. They pays you a little money. Like, that's not truly building a scalable business. And so in a lot of cases, we're hindering ourselves. We're like, well, if I just charge $1,000, then they can afford it. And it's not, but it took you 30 hours, to get this done, right? And so now when you break it down, you making less in this business than you making in your job, so we have to find that confidence, which is easier said than done. We have to ensure that we are pricing, what we're worth and what our business and our products and services are worth as well. And I see so many Black women that aren't.
Girl, you hit a nerve. You definitely hit a nerve because it to me, and this is something that I've struggled with, it doesn't matter how many accomplishments I have or make. It doesn't matter what strides I take in the business. In the back of my mind, there's always this internal battle of being confident in my skill set, my work, the project, my abilities. And I know that a lot of that stems from um, how we have been conditioned as women. And even I'll tell you a story about today. So I'm getting ready. It's a work day. I work from home. Uh, and I'm like, I got 2 podcasts today, talking to my husband. And then I just started kind of straightening up, right? And he's like, T, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, now that I don't feel like I have to work as hard this week, I want to, get into my my domesticated duties and make sure that I'm like straightening things up and doing all those things. And then he stopped me and he was like, "Girl, if you don't like go get ready for your podcast and do what you need to do." And I said back to him like, "You know what? Thank you for that reminder because in my head I'm thinking I have to balance, I have to be on top of this, everything, all the time. And it's just difficult and impossible to be
It's
this
not.
superwoman,
Yeah,
right?
so our cleaning people were here yesterday,
I
and
know that's right.
and I sat here at my computer and laid in the bed with my computer while they cleaned the rest of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel bad about it. And my husband was here too, and we were both working while they were cleaning the house. And so the way I look at it is like the 2 hours that I got back in my week, I can be using to make some money, or I can be using them for us to sit on this couch and relax together, and or to get a workout in, or I mean, there are other things that make me a better person than, and I don't have to prove my worth as a wife or as a woman by making sure that the house is clean. Like, I make sure that the house is clean. I book the cleaners, like,
Yes,
that,
exactly.
so it's like we have to take care of ourselves and be confident in that most of us are doing the best we can do every day. And that's okay. Our best doesn't look like everybody else's, but like, my day is not, I'm not killing it like Beyonce is killing it out here. Like, but I'm doing the best I can, the best Danielle can do. And I won't let anybody question that. Like, I know and some days my best looks real different than some days my best I can do is lay in my bed and watch SVU all day. That's the best I can do, that day. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm tired, and I'm not going to pick up this computer and I'm not going to talk to nobody. Like, that's the best I can do. And I don't feel bad about it. And I don't let anybody make me feel bad about my decisions to do absolutely nothing sometimes. It's the best I can do.
Yes, and I agree with that. It takes a journey to get to that point where and that's why I'm saying this is something that I'm still having to recondition myself about, because even if I'm taking time off during the week or um it's just the undue pressure
Yeah, we feel
of
like we gotta be doing something.
why do we have to be doing something? I did enough. Right? I am mentally
I've been working
drained.
since I was 12 years old. I deserve a little break.
Right. Right. So let's shift gears a little bit. Well, not shift gears. Let's dive deeper into your personal journey. So I want to talk about some things that you learned earlier on in your early 20s and your 30s. What, well, can you share some pivotal moments when it comes to your perspective um, as an entrepreneur, a founder, and a leader?
Absolutely. So again, my journey started about 12 years ago with entrepreneurship. Um, it really started when I was 12 years old. Me and my then best friend, we were walking around the neighborhood and asking people could we walk their dog for $5, and that was before dog walking was a thing. And so, but we didn't have a choice but to do these things because our parents had very modest means of living. So they if we wanted to go to the mall or we wanted to buy something or go to this party and it cost money, we had to make money to do some of the things that we wanted to do. And it wasn't that our parents wouldn't have tried their best to give us whatever they had so that we could do the things we wanted to do. They just didn't have it, and we knew that. And so I think we always wanted to supplement what they were able to do because we were just so appreciative of the things that they did do for us. So, that and that part of my life, my father kind of always told me, you always have a side hustle. Like, I feel like I was like in high school and he's like, you always got to be out here making money. You always got to be. And so, like I said, I started working at 12. My first summer job was at 12 years old, working at a real estate agency. My grandmother would always, tap into her network and find these opportunities for me to work in the summer, and I loved working because I loved being able to get money. And I was willing to go to school, and it went from just working in the summer to working to getting on the bus, going to the mall, working in the mall after school in high school, and then going home doing homework at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and doing it all over again the next day. So I've always had this hustling spirit in me. And then Antonia, my same friend that I was out dog walking with in our early 20s, she was the first to start a business. So it was a group of us, three of us, me, Antonia, and Talia. And Antonia started her business first. She started a boutique, started online, and then she opened a brick and mortar in Miami. And that was about 13 years ago, and it was so inspiring to me and Talia. And so Talia opened a cleaning company, which she still operates today. And we just spent this time pouring into each other and like, hey, I got an idea for this business. And we would help name each other's businesses. And we had all these ideas of all these things that we wanted to do. But seeing my friends really step out and do it was what gave me the confidence to do the same thing. And we found different ways to partner and collaborate. So that really gave me the confidence to step out and start my own business, was seeing my friends do it with my father in the back of my head saying, you always got to have a way to make some extra money. Like, so I spent time bartending, cleaning houses, doing, whatever. I bartended for years while also working as a full-time banker because I believe that you always had to have a way to make some extra money. So again, that hustle, I've just always been a hustler. I was, going to school, getting my MBA, working as a banker, and then bartending, all at the same time because I always have wanted to do what I want to do. So, and so I think also Antonia has continued to inspire me. She passed away 7 years ago, and she was a business owner until the end of her life, and and I was just kind of moving to Nashville, and it was a very pivotal time in my life when she passed away. I just met my husband, and she just her passing away inspired me to go even harder. She inspired me to, and also inspired some of the philanthropic things that I do as well. But her death was definitely she's played such a pivotal role in my journey, starting at 12 years old, and now 26 years later, is she's played such a key role in so many parts of my life. So that those are the things that really stand out in my journey, are my memories of her, and the encouragement from her. Seeing her doing it, being inspired by that, having her words of encouragement, having her giving me business advice as I was building my first business, all are the things that have kind of brought me to where I am today.
Wow. Well, sorry to hear about your friend. Um, you made me think about, the importance of having not just a support system around you, but people that are like-minded. And just reflecting on my own business journey or entrepreneurial journey when I was in my 20s, I wish that I would have been more intentional about surrounding myself with other people who were in the same space and stage in their life.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think I actually met you. Has it been like it's been like 6 years? It's
It's
been a while.
probably been, yeah, close to it. Yeah.
I met you in the first year and a half of me going full time. And so I just appreciate you sharing that story about your friend and how she's been pivotal in your life. And yeah, just reiterating that when you're coming up, well, one, it's never too late to change your circle, surround yourself with people who are like-minded. Um and especially if you're an entrepreneur, it's one of the most lonely journeys that you can take in
Yeah.
life. And it doesn't matter if you're married, if you're
Does
single,
not.
if you got kids, parents, it does not matter,
Does not.
right?
It
So
does.
let's talk about that a little bit more because entrepreneurship is glamorized in so many ways. Uh and so I like to touch a little bit on the dark side or the hardships of entrepreneurship. So, can you share with us um, some of the hardships that you've either had to face as an entrepreneur and how you've gotten through them, or lessons that you've learned when it comes to handling those hardships as an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. I mean, there's been so many. And honestly, that is why I have the Black Business Boom, because my goal is to try to eliminate some of those hardships for other Black business owners. The first one that comes to mind is when we opened our spa in Chicago, and we just found a space and signed a lease, and then we were like, oh, we need to go get a business license. And then we found out when we did that the space that we leased was not licensed, it was not zoned for massages. So we had to completely work around not being able to give massages in a spa. That was a mess. I learned so many things through that journey, of just how to have a strong financial foundation as a business owner, how to calculate your break even point, when you got to pay a lease, you got to pay your rent every month, and you got lights that you got to keep on. You got to get a little good at math at that point, figure out how much do I at least need to bring in this month to make sure that that's paid. And I'll tell you, we kept the spa open for almost 5 years, but we were never really making money. Like we were making enough to keep the lights on and keep the doors open. And that meant that I had to go out and clean houses and bartend and drive Uber and Lyft every weekend, and do all these things just to pay my own bills. because again, the embarrassment. I didn't want to go back to work. My mama said to me for a year and a half, Danielle, you need to go get a job. You need to go. And I was like, no, it's gonna take off. Yeah. And at the same time, my mother was my business partner and she was still working. So I kind of dealt with more of the day to day. And I was like, we need to invest in some marketing. She was like, I'm not spending another dollar on another thing, in this business. And so learn the importance of investing in marketing and how, not doing that can really hinder you as a business owner. As I said earlier, we used Groupon. That helped us to get folks through the door. But then how do we keep those folks coming back? So that's how I started to learn about loyalty marketing, and how do we use Groupon to attract them, but use email marketing, text marketing, and all these other things, and loyalty programs and things to keep them coming back, because that's where we would really make our money, because you don't make no money from when you using Groupon. So those are some of the things I learned in just that short period of having that business, but that also led to me filing bankruptcy. So during that same period, I had a second business with my ex-boyfriend. He's a chef, and he was off on Fridays, and at the time I was off on Fridays before I quit my job. I was off, so we both off on Fridays, and I was like, we could be making some money on Fridays. Neither one of us, again, that hustling me. I'm like, this is a business. Like, you can cook, I can go out and deliver some food. We can make some money. So we were doing that every Friday. He was up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning cooking. We would package up the food. I would start delivering at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. I was delivering until 9 p.m. most Fridays. And then I was like, it got to be a better way than this. One time after the car got, no, I got a boot on my car in the middle of delivering one time. I stopped at home to pick up more food and came out and had a boot on my car.
Oh my
I
God.
was like, there has to be a better way. Again, broke. And so, even being able to get that boot off my car, it was a mess. So then we started doing these in-home dinners, and we started making a lot more money for a lot less work, right? So we were charging $300-400 for these private dinners, and it maybe cost us $60 to get everything we needed in a little bit of time. And so that started to make me think about, how do you work smarter, not harder? And that's something that I learned through that journey. Like, how can I maximize my time, make the most money, have the least amount of overhead possible, and spend the least amount of time actually performing the work. But that relationship ended, and I had taken out a $10,000 loan using my condo as collateral. And so I took out that loan to get us all the equipment and stuff that we needed. And then we broke up and the business fell apart, and I was left paying $479 a month to pay off this loan, or I was going to lose my condo. So I paid that and neglected paying my homeowner association fees and ended up in court. So all in this same period, my relationship was falling apart. I had one business that was still around. I was making no money from there. The other business had fallen apart. I got $5,000 on the owl from the HOA folks when they put the attorney fees on there. I get a letter from the IRS. I owe them some money because somebody messed up my taxes. It was just a bad time. Like, it was like everything that could go wrong was going wrong. And he was no help. And so learned a big lesson about being careful who you go into business with. And it's something that I teach at TM when I teach my entrepreneurship class at TSU. I tell all the young ladies, do not go into business with your boyfriend.
Well, I'm so glad you brought this up, because this is literally a question that I wanted to ask you. I wanted to go in deeper and discuss what it's been like to balance love and business as a woman. And I think it's interesting that you brought up that scenario with going into business
Yeah.
with your boyfriend. But before we dive deeper into that, I just want to reiterate something that you said that was important. And um you mentioned so many things. So working smarter, not harder, is the most important thing that I want to reiterate here, because that's the lesson that I've had to learn. And it goes back to what we were discussing earlier in the podcast about really having the confidence and in yourself and your business, but also uh realizing that working hard is not a solution. It's almost as if
It's
it's
not.
something that it's ingrained in us as Black
That's
people.
the hustle culture.
Right. Right. And then you see other people who they're and it's interesting because it's because we're in a new time when it comes to social media and content creation and the creator economy and all these different ways that you can make money. People are starting to wake up about not working hard is the solution to success. But I think our people need to
Yeah.
really focus in on that.
It's a mindset shift that has to happen. And so, just one example, when I had the spa, it took X amount of dollars to get somebody through the door, right? That was hard to get people through the door, these individual clients. But what was also hard, but a lot more fruitful, was going out and doing mobile massages, and we had a team of massage therapists, so we couldn't do massages in our spa, but we would go to corporations and we would do 100 massages in a day, right? Like, so yeah, it's harder to close the deal, but it's a lot more fruitful to know that you got 100 people who you're going to serve today, and whatever that math works out to, versus trying to get 100 people to walk in the door. And so it's thinking about your business differently. Again, it's much easier for me to go out this one day with this team and service people all day, and I'm making more in that one day than sitting in this spa and trying to get people to come in for weeks, like. So there again, same thing with the chef service. 10 Yeah, it's easier to sell somebody on a $10 meal that I'm bringing to your job, and yeah, you might get 10 coworkers, but it's a lot easier for us to go out and do one dinner for $400 that we just got to go to the grocery store, get the stuff for that, get there, set it up, cook it, and then we're gone. And a whole lot less time for the same amount of money. So I think it really starts to come down to when you think about what your time is worth, and you put a dollar amount on what you feel like your time is worth, and you will then start to realize you got to shift the way you do business.
Right.
Because your time is the most valuable thing that you have. But that hustle culture, that's trash. I'm asleep 8 hours every night. If it don't get done, it don't get done. I might have to send an email and tell you, I'm running behind on getting you this proposal. It'll be there tomorrow, whatever it takes. But, our health, we got to focus on our health, especially as Black people. If you aren't sleeping, aren't eating properly, aren't making time to at least go walk around the block a few times and get, I mean, you may not be heart healthy. There's so many things that will contribute to us not being able to even work our business, because we know if we don't take the time and shut it down and focus on ourselves, our body gonna just shut down for us, and then now you really in bad shape, and now you're trying to fix something that you could have prevented in the first place.
Yeah, you doing all the preaching for me. Look,
But to this love
amen.
thing, like I said, definitely don't start a business with your boyfriend.
Well, yes, because and well, y'all. Well, technically, I started my business with my husband, but it never even crossed my mind to do that as a while we were like, I guess, dating or earlier on in my 20s.
No,
Maybe
you was
I
broke.
wasn't even
If
surrounded
you
by
dating somebody,
entrepreneurial men.
when you dating somebody broke, then you try to find ways to help them, right? And so what I'm not gonna do is take money out of my account and hand it to you, but I am good at being like, here's an opportunity, and I will help you to build this thing. So it was all branded under his name and everything, but I was doing all the booking, the marketing, running around, driving around, dropping off stuff. So I saw potential in him and I wanted to expose him to better and give him better. But that's not how you need to be operating with a boyfriend, honestly. I mean, and especially once you start getting in your 30s. Nah, like I just saw something on social media. I'm not looking for potential. You need to come already potential. Like that's where like I don't want nobody who I can see it in you. Like
I
no,
need to see results.
together.
What's on the
Yeah, like
table right
come to
now?
because how are you adding to my life? Like it's and I'm all about balance and giving. And, I've supported my husband and same thing with him. I mean, at this point we were, had been in a long-term relationship. We were engaged and I was like, you do this, you're great at nutrition. You can really help people. And he was like, I've thought about, I could do nutrition coaching. I could, partner with some personal trainers that don't do nutrition and offer nutrition help. And I'm telling you, before we weren't even living together at the time. Before I could get home that day, somebody was on his phone calling him because they were like, somebody signed up and said that you were interested in nutrition coaching. So I am really good at, seeing an opportunity for someone and pushing them. You can't mention a business around me if you're not ready, because
Right, because
I'm
it's
giving you
time to go.
action items.
I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, you thinking about this? Well, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this, you could do this.
We taking action over here.
Right, let's go.
We're not just talking about business. But it's been a pleasure to support my husband and his journey. And as far as like the balance, the great thing about my marriage and our relationship in general has been that he supports everything that I do, but from a distance. He don't get into the weeds of what I got going on. He just lets me do me. That is what I need. Everybody is not like that. You have to know your partner. There are days where I want to sit and vent with him and tell him, I did this and this and that, but it's rare. And then if I need to do it, he's there. But for the most part, he's like, go on, do what you got to do. Like, go out there. You got to meet with this person. He's not like, who you meeting with today? Are you gonna be going this? You got to go to this conference. You leaving again? Like, we don't do that with each other. We let each other have the freedom that we need to thrive in the way that we need to thrive. And so, like I said, everybody's relationship looks different, but I just need to be left alone most of the time.
That's so funny. I'm glad that you touched on that though, because so Greg and I were coming out with this book, The Art of Love and Business. 7 secrets to go from pillow talk to profit talk, right? And one of the things that we discuss in the book is being able to have a healthy dynamic. So you can have two entrepreneurs that are two separate different businesses. You can have one person that has their corporate career, the other person is a business owner, or, both of you in together in the business like us. And either way, the most important thing is that you all find your groove. Like, if you want to be left alone and he knows that works for y'all. For us, we're buddy buddies, so we like to be all up under each other all day long, and so that works for us. But we have people looking at us like, how do y'all how do
Yeah,
y'all do
we
this?
couldn't do it. Like, I mean, I've offered him a job with me. I've been like, hey, because we so different that like he's super overtly analytical, which I feel like would probably drive me crazy, but at the same time, it could help improve the business. And we've just been like, yeah, it sounds good, but like what could our relationship survive that? We already in this house all day with each other. Like we both work
Yes.
from home. So we made it through the pandemic together every day up under each other. Let's not take it too far.
Let's
So
not go too far.
let's
But
not go too far with it. But again, we provide each other balance. If I have somewhere I need an overly analytical brain, then I know I can go to him. With his business, I'm always like, I got 15 ideas of how we can, and he's like, I'm not ready for all that. I will come to you when I need your help. Like I know who to come to, when I need help. But right now, this is just a side hustle for me. He has a 20-year career with his company. So he's like, this is something I'm doing on the side. And I'm like, but we can grow this thing and we can, so, but it's important to just understand who your partner is. And when they do need you, you are there for them,
Yeah.
like, again, I don't need to talk to him about my business every day. Someday it took probably 2 years for him to really understand what I do. Like, people would be like, "What does your wife do?" She help Black-owned businesses. She do marketing or something for Black-owned business, and I'm like, fine, whatever. Like, it, he was that far removed from my business, and that's fine with me. I have a team, so I lean on my team to know the ins and outs of my business. But when I'm having a breakdown, then I know I got somebody. And like last year was a really hard year for me. And so this year he's like, you need to take a trip. You need to plan a trip and you need to go somewhere for a few days by yourself and hopefully you'll come back refreshed. So I'm planning a trip. I actually leave next week to go on a solo trip. And a lot of people's husbands wouldn't allow for that. But my husband knows I was solo tripping before I met him, so he knows how that renews my spirit. And he could tell that I needed that right now. And I truly do. Like I said, I think last year was hard for a lot of us. It was
It
a
was so
hard year
hard.
for business. It was hard. And so I had to make a lot of hard decisions. I spent a whole lot of money. That profit and loss statement ain't looking like I wanted to look like. It was just a lot last year. And he's been there for me and ensuring that I do take the time that I need for myself to get refreshed and have a better year this year.
And that's all that you can ask for in a relationship is just the a true understanding of each other and establishing what your roles and support is going to be because and things change like you said it may be times where he comes to you and says okay I need some advice on this or what are your ideas for this and other times where he's like I got it and I think that's important for people that are in long-term relationships to realize because we just put so much pressure on each other to be each other's everything all the time
Yeah.
and I'm here to tell y'all, after being married for the last going on 6 years now, together with my husband for 10, it's impossible to be everything to your spouse. So I agree wholeheartedly, blah, blah, wholeheartedly with that. Okay, so we got a couple more minutes, and I really, really want to talk about scaling businesses. And so I have two main questions for you. Now, the first one um, is about I'm trying to see what question I want to start with first. So it's two things that I think are important with scaling that might not be typical, and you tell me what your thoughts on. Um, from a personal branding perspective, I think that that's a major piece that people overlook when it comes to getting visibility for their businesses. And then the other part is strategic partnerships. And you mentioned a little bit about this earlier in the conversation, but I want to touch on these two things specifically because I believe that our people don't really understand the value of building a personal brand or brands in general, and they
Mhm.
definitely have been burned by their experience with partnerships and collaborations.
Yeah.
So, from a scaling perspective, what are your thoughts on these two things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've fought having a personal brand for a while myself, so I understand where folks are coming from when they don't want to do it, and because it can be very uncomfortable. Like I'm like, I do good work. My company does good work. Focus on that. But when I'm out, people are like, Danielle, I saw your LinkedIn post. Like I saw you post about something. So whether I wanted to or not, my personal brand grew and became intertwined with my business. People don't always think about Black Business Boom, but they think about me as a speaker, as a teacher, as an influencer or whatever. the case may be, but it's very uncomfortable to me. I'm still not comfortable with it. I don't like doing photo shoots and creating content and all those things, but I'm gonna do what I gotta do for my business. And especially because my business is helping so many other people. So it's not always about what you are comfortable with or what you like doing. We do a lot of things that we don't like doing as entrepreneurs because we have a mission and that's what it takes. And so I had to get out of my own way with pushing back on, I don't want people to know me. Like, no, because if I get the speaking opportunity, then I get to talk about why Black business owners need support. And that could lead to a check, right? Like that could lead to a check or somebody mentoring a Black business owner, or even just changing the way somebody thinks about Black business owners or Black owned businesses. So if I do that, if I become the face of this business and have this personal brand, it's going to add to the success of my business and several other Black owned businesses. So we got to get out of our own way when it comes to that, and our fear of what people are going to think and what they're going to say. And, and it's hard. And I said this year specifically, my word for the year was exposure, because I was tired of fighting kind of and wanting to stay behind when my brand requires that I be out there and have the spotlight. And it's not about me, everybody knowing Danielle, and I want everybody to know me. No, I want everybody to know Black businesswoman. I want them to know why I do this work every day. So that's what's important. And we have to, again, put aside what's comfortable and what our preferences are, and focus on the mission and how do we use our personal brands to accomplish that. As far as partnerships go, alignment is really important. And many times, you have folks that come to you for partnerships when they just want exposure, or they money, or something else. And so I think it's really, partnerships are extremely powerful, but we have to make sure that it's mutually beneficial. Like everybody has to win and everybody can win. And collaboration is absolutely key, but we got to find ways to make it work for both parties. I think that in many cases, I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, man, what if I was a photographer? I would have a videographer that I partner with. I would have a makeup artist that I would partner with. Like, you could really create a whole experience for folks. So I'm like, I don't know why I was thinking about this morning, but I was thinking, like, what if they just came together and created this powerful unit, and everybody, even if you go get a space now, everybody chips in $250 a month versus one person having to pay $1,000. And I know you're not gonna find them for $1,000 in most cases here, but just as an
Used to be.
example, if everybody is putting in, and not only is it more powerful for a business because you got 4 different entities that may be marketing, you have capital from that 4 different people are putting in, but you're learning from each other and growing together as well. But a lot of people are fools, and you got to be very careful.
What do you mean by that?
There are some fools out here, and everybody is not a great business person. Everybody is not together mentally. There are a lot of things, and as a hiring manager, I used to say you cannot interview for crazy. That crazy, they hide that crazy better than anything, and it comes out after you already are in the relationship, hired the person, in the partnership. That's when all of a sudden you find out who you're really dealing with. And so, I think that there are ways that you can vet, or, have like preliminary type of smaller partnerships that'll give you indicators on if this is someone you can work with in a greater capacity. But, events, for instance, I do not do events. I will not do events. But I gladly sponsor events or provide, collateral, whatever for other people's stuff. I'm not going to do events. I'd rather support other people that are doing it. Like I could have easily just been like, well, I'm going to do vendor events for Black owned businesses, right? Like it would make sense. It wouldn't be not aligned with what we do. But I rather support, Shop Black Fest and other vendor events because it's not my thing, right? So instead, we have to look for folks that can complement what we're doing, or ways we can complement other people's stuff versus always trying to feel like everything needs to happen under your own brand. For it to be successful. Like I sponsor stuff all the time, and my logo is there. Who knows how much, that really helps. But it's in alignment, it makes sense. Yeah, we can sponsor, I can speak, or whatever. So we just got to get creative, with the partnerships as well. And then not only looking at just partnerships with other business owners, small business owners, how can you partner with larger corporations as well? How can you partner with nonprofits? Can you partner with churches? Right. So looking just beyond your immediate circle of small business owners for partnership opportunities. But, a corporate partnership can change your life. And many times that does not look like them immediately cutting a check. That looks like them coming to speak at your event, to build a relationship. And to continue building that relationship. It's a long game, that happens with these corporations. It may be 2 years of them speaking at your thing before they'll, put in a sponsorship request. But we just got to get creative and be, smart about how we approach people for the partnerships and ensuring that it's a win-win.
And I agree with everything that you said, specifically about thinking outside of the box and being creative with partnerships. And so I do events, y'all. Y'all know I'm an event queen, but I'm really into doing partnerships that are aligned and thinking outside the box as far as how we present our businesses and brands to the community. And the other part that I struggled with, and I'm still like on my journey with figuring out, is, the corporate partnerships and just thinking outside of the box as far as who we are targeting and who we can work with. So,
Yeah. Start to ask them to speak. Like that's an easy, because they want exposure. These corporations, especially if they're aligned with the mission. So, having someone from QuickBooks come and speak to entrepreneurs. ADP is another one. They're always looking for partnerships with organizations that have a network of entrepreneurs. So, and they pay for that. So looking for those organizations that it's beneficial to them. Again, cutting the check, yes, many times, you can get a sponsorship, but when you really truly build the relationship with them, sometimes that looks like them winning before you win. Like that looks like them getting in front of your network, and you don't make a dollar from it, but it's helping to establish a relationship, and eventually it'll pay off in some way. And again, sometimes that's not a check, that's an introduction. That it's them thinking about you or having you come speak so that you get in front of a room of people who might cut a check, right? So it's really the corporate game. Really, what I've learned is about the relationship building and how can you, get an introduction, a warm introduction to the right person. But it's absolutely a long game.
and yes, I agree. I want to be mindful of time. So I would like for you to give the final word to our audience about and to the cool girls. So the cool girls are creative women, ambitious women, and we're passionate. We're just trying to figure out how to monetize our passions, how to create sustainable businesses. So think about your final word there. Um, I wanted to add to what you were saying about um, you made me think about just servant leadership in general and how a lot of times we are entering rooms or thinking about partnerships and sponsorships from a what's in it for me lens. And I always recommend to people that you should start to go into rooms and figure out how you can become the connector or how you can be a resource to someone else and serve in your communities, because a lot of times those warm introductions that you're going to get are people that are on boards of nonprofits or they're serving in their communities from an ADP or a corporation. And you have no idea because you're sitting at home thinking about what's in it for me.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Get in the rooms, no matter what it takes, find a way to get in the rooms that will eventually serve you. And that could look like you serving, volunteering, whatever it means, but we can't keep shying away from being in the room because we're uncomfortable or because we don't know anybody. Find a way to get in the room. And I would say my final thought is that for the cool girls, you are deserving. We have to believe that. When you believe that you are deserving and you have faith in what you're doing and in yourself and in whatever higher being you believe in, that being will provide, that is when you will begin to thrive. We have to believe. If we don't believe in ourselves, nobody is going to believe in us, and we will not be able to sell whatever it is that we're selling. So, we have to get out of our own way, and we have to truly believe and have faith in what we're doing.
That is the final word from our special guest today, Danielle McGee Gibson, and your girl, your favorite host, Taniesha Westbrook, signing out.